in-kind space, it is not uncommon that companies are doing amazing things and giving in-kind ways, in new ways, that never cease to amaze me. So one of the examples that we have is donation of the use of space, not sort of for an indefinite period that would be multiple years and an organization would be able to settle in and stay, but for storage or for short term because there's construction going on or they need a temporary spot. It wouldn't be sort of 1 day or 2 days. It might be 6 months or 9 months, but it isn't intended to be a permanent location. But the space is not typically rented out, so in theory, it doesn't have a market value. And so the question is, clearly that space is valuable to the community partner. So not trying to figure out or not saying that that use of the space has no value, because it's clearly valuable to the community partner that's using it. The question is, can the company claim as an input anything in relation to the access to that space? So typically in all of the in-kind conversations that we've had so far, what we try to do is to figure out what is the cost to the company. And so if it's a t-shirt, we know about the production value. If it's a computer or a piece of art or furniture, for example, as long as that piece of equipment or that piece of art is still on the accounting books of the company, it actually has a value. Computers and art would be, computers and furniture would have depreciating value. So at a certain point on the books, that value would be zero. So time is a relevant thing there that influences the valuation approach. Art often maintains or appreciates, so that's a different trajectory. But how would we go about that in relation to this type of in-kind contribution? Because there wouldn't be rent that's being foregone, or because it's an empty warehouse, for example, that's just sitting there, but someone's being able to use it for a period of time because they need access to that space.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if this is a community partner and that if an organization is willing to donate space like a warehouse for a period of time, there's in my mind there's a definite benefit to that. And would it be valuable to have a understanding of I'm not saying a square footage rate, but just like what would it be in terms of renting an equivalent space that would be somewhat of a value back in terms of what the company can claim?
And I would say that in some cases the company, it may be their space, but they may rent it from a property owner, which in which case they are paying a lease rate per square foot. And so there would be a value on that space that they're renting out. If they own it, there's probably also some kind of square footage, like was mentioned, in terms of renting something similar. So I would say that there definitely is a value in in-kind space.
The two examples that just were given are good ones, and I have to say before I heard them, when I read this summary on the document you sent, my reaction was, if you're not currently renting it out, I don't think you should be able to claim it. My thought was, if you have, say, office space, and you do rent it out during the week, and you then decide that maybe on Fridays you're going to start giving the space to charities to come and use the space, or a one-off here and there, that's different because you have an established practice of deriving income, and then you're choosing to donate it. that's sort of generally where I landed, but I think the, some of the examples that were provided are swaying me a little bit in terms of how to look at this.
And obviously, we deal with this on an ongoing basis of in-kind, not for a long period of time, but obviously everybody wants to be at the top of the bow, and we do donate to do it, and we do, it is an in-kind component, but I think what we incorporate into it is there's security costs and different pieces of that value that we incur for that, and we use that as some of the valuation as well. So
there would be some operating cost potentially associated. The security cost is actually a really interesting one. It's a big one. Crossed my mind. Yeah.
And IT and catering is catering. Like that's on the other side. That's not included. That's done. But the actual value of that space, there are operation costs that are associated, and we obviously eat those costs, and but we use them as an in-kind donation component. So.
That's okay. So operating costs. Very tangible. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe less tangible is the opportunity costs that
exactly.
company forgoes by not having that facility available to them on the minute that they would like to have it available to them. So I think in some situations that has a very, it is a value, and I understand that companies want it to be recognized, because they come up all the time. I know whenever we allow that similar kind of usage, then you go, oh darn, I wish I hadn't done that because we need it for this, and this. So.
And it's also the factor, we don't ask, but nonprofits obviously, they're saving a massive amount of money by hosting in an event space that they normally would have to pay for, right? So I don't know how you would evaluate that, but there's a cost savings completely to all these nonprofits for that. So I don't know if that plays a role or not.
Okay. It's interesting.
Warehouse space, there's a tax on it, so either you're paying for that space to leasing it, or you're paying taxes, or you're paying obviously you're still continue to pay the utilities and things like that.
It's interesting, the conversation that we're having makes me think about how the world tends to value during working hours volunteering, or even volunteering that is skill-based pro bono, meaning if I am a volunteer who is providing technical assistance to enhance somebody's IT strategy, a community partner's IT strategy, we value the knowledge that has been shared to a certain point. So you wonder whether or not this is another window on a similar conversation about the value of giving something when there is not necessarily actual cash exchanged. But very concrete suggestions, and please chime in if I've missed something, is look at the actual operating costs that are associated with providing that space. So security, IT, electricity use, there could be things in that category. Another would be about looking at opportunity cost, meaning is the company foregoing their own use of that space as a result of allowing it to be used by somebody else? And then trying to pick apart how to express that value that is actually being experienced by the community partner because they are benefiting from using the space, which kind of links to my comment about valuing pro bono expertise. It's sort of